Okay, I'm recording this. I've been fighting with the electronic background thing for hours. You notice if you move your head, it looks like the wind's blowing your hair around. I finally got rid of that. I finally found out they have to use really strong lights on the speaker, on the person, in order to get rid of that. So I'm practically blinded by the light shining at me. But anyway, I got it down to a manageable level. You can still see it's wobbling around a bit. It looks like the wind's blowing my hair or something, but anyway, it's not. Okay, I just wanted to make a short introduction about this movie I'm making called The Scientific Proof of God. I'm talking into a microphone because there's a guy sleeping in the next apartment. I don't want to wake him up. Okay, the scientific proof of God comes out of psychometry. And what is psychometry? Well, it's all those tests you've been hearing about. The Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Test, the Wechsler IQ test, the Eysenck Inventory, the Myers-Briggs Personality Test, and there's hundreds of them. Anyway, psychology has been searching after something called the structural model of personality ever since the father of medicine, a Greek named Hippocrates in 500 BC, said there was such a thing. And he said it was caused by four humors. The four humors, everybody's heard about the four humors. Anyway, they were pretty convinced in ancient days that there were four major personalities. Matter of fact, the church named them Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John around 2,000 years ago. So anyway, they've been searching for the structural model. So this thing really took off with the advent of the desktop computer. And there are these hundreds of these personality tests. And so it became a cottage industry in academic psychology to round up a bunch of students, give them extra credit, and make them take these tests. And then what they do is they correlate all of the test questions. They get a 100 by 100 matrix, and then they run that through a mainframe computer. And of course, a matrix is a 2 by 2 array of numbers. And it's a quadratic surface, because a 2 by 2 is a quadratic equation. And it's some kind of a sphere or an ellipsoid of all the data points. So anyway, the trick is to find the major axes of that ellipsoid. And those are figured to be the basic personality dimensions of this long set after structural model. So anyway, you get thousands of academic guys doing this all over the world. With the advent of the desktop computer, when was that? In the 70s or something? And they've been going great guns for, 50 years now. And they discovered all the eigenvectors, but they didn't know whether there were 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One guy expert thought there were 15. And they didn't know where they came from. So if you don't know where they're coming from, it's hard to explain what they are and why you have a certain number of them. So I happened on the scene. I discovered what caused them. And I'll show you a picture here. Wait a minute, I got it here somewhere. Yeah, this here. This is an original drawing by me. And it shows that the brain is descended from the 8-cell stage in embryology. I can show you lots of pictures of it. The whole body is an axial quadrature. It starts as an 8-cell stage, and then it begins cleaving longitudinally, and it turns into the whole human body. So the structural model, I said, they knew there were these two big factors, E and N. I said, well, that's a quadrature. I said, there's got to be a quadrature in the brain. So I finally figured out it was a cubic brain that was causing it. And because it's a cube, it has 13 rotational symmetry axes. And this causes, I think I got another drawing in here. No, I guess not. I guess it's not in here. Yeah, here it is. Anyway, when you plot out, here's the 7x7 matrix. When you plot it out, pick 3 of them for ENP. The other 4 fall 1 in each quadrant. The chance of that is only 1 in 20, so that's significant at the p equals 0.05 level. So what that's, proves, that's absolute confirmation that, where the hell are we now? That's absolute confirmation that the data confirms that it comes from the cubic brain. Now there's lots more to it. I mean, meanwhile, these guys finding all these 3, 4, and 5 factor models and stuff. Where the hell is that diagram? They tried to draw sketches of it, but you can only draw in 3 dimensions. I mean, when they extract 7 factors, they think it's in seven-dimensional space. But the angles are slightly intercorrelated. So they wanted to represent a diagram that would show which way these things are leaning towards each other. So they would draw a sketch in 3 dimensions, since you can only draw in 3 dimensions. So here's like the 7-factor model in 3 dimensions. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And one guy found 9 factors. Here's Saussure drew a 9-factor model. Eysenck was famous for the 3-factor model, and so forth. Now, as you can see, all of these models, a cube has 13 rotational symmetry axes. So every one of those models can be fitted on these lines in this cube. And I showed that comes from the cubic brain. So the cubic brain is the origin of the thing. That's what they were looking for, and I discovered it. And I'm telling them about it right now. So meanwhile, these 13 axes are what the Greeks call the 12 Olympian gods. They were off by 1, it's 13. And the personality types. Okay, so that's the first thing, is psychometry. Me and the whole psychology community, me for the physics department, I'm a physicist. I've discovered where all this data is coming from, and that there are 13, and they're the gods, the 13 personality types. In today's world, they're Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, and Porky Pig, but 5,000 years ago, they were Anubis, Seth, Horus, and I think this is Bess or something, and there were 13 of them. And then the Greeks took them over and called them the 12 Olympian gods. They were off by 1, there's 13. And then the Romans took them over. Oops, there go the lights. And, so now we found the gods with a lowercase g, G-O-D-S, the gods, little g, O-D-S. But then it turns out if you take that 13 by 13 factor matrix and you factor it again, you get 4 superfactors. And guess what? These 4 superfactors are 4 superpersonalities. And I identified them immediately as Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, which is what they are. But get this. You take the 4 by 4 matrix and factor it again, and you get 1 single, lone, final, top factor. And guess what that factor is? It's the God of the Bible, the supreme God of the Bible. It's actually physically measurable. And it is the personality of an invisible, perfect man. Meanwhile, it turns out this factor is caused by the growth curve, human growth curve. Nobody's fully grown except for some mythical, invisible man who has never trod the earth, and he's called God. So that's the scientific proof of God, but there's more. It turns out that 4x4 matrix is 3 personality dimensions, which we've already shown caused by the 3 spatial cleavages of the brain, plus intelligence, which is a time dimension. Every intelligence test is timed. So now what you've got is 3 space dimensions and 1 time dimension at the top of psychometry in a 4x4 matrix, which is not diagonal, which means it's curved in the mathematical sense. It's a space-time curvature. It's an Einsteinian curvature of reality. And that thing, the higher order factor of that thing, is the curvature tensor of relativity. And that is the God of the Bible. So there really is a God. There really is an invisible man. It really is measurable to 2 and 3 decimal point accuracy. And believe it, wouldn't you know, it's explained by Einstein's theory of relativity. It's an Einsteinian curvature. It's not a gravitational curvature. That curvature does not satisfy the Einstein gravity field equations. Nevertheless, it is an Einsteinian curvature. The total curvature of it is 6 over a squared. It's like a Hubble expansion. When you grow up, you get larger, and your mind gets faster. It's a Hubble expansion. Anyway, okay, so that's the outline of the scientific proof of God. Now, I'll bet you I've been talking 10 minutes here. And you could easily expand that thing into a half an hour to make any sense out of it. But anyway, I'm going to quit yakking and get off this thing and see what it looks like. Now I'll hit the F.